Hi there, I'm Ted Smith. I'm a relationship coach and a hypnotherapy practitioner.
And I'm Andrew Langhorst. I'm a men's relationship coach and a men's work leader. And today we want to welcome you to this conversation. And we're going to be talking about the gift of being triggered and also listening as the answer. So let's get right into it. The gift of being triggered. That sounds really interesting. Tell me, first of all, maybe for the people who don't know, what is a trigger or what is being triggered?
Yeah, so a trigger is something that happens in our everyday life that brings up some intense feelings, emotions, or some memory of something that happened in the past. Um, so it could be triggering some old childhood wounds around feeling alone, not feeling heard, not feeling safe. And it doesn't actually have anything to do with what Andrew was saying. It's bringing some stuff up to the surface from something that's happening in the past. That's what a trigger is.
I feel like that's a pretty good explanation. And I would add to that, like when I feel triggered, you said there's an emotion coming up and you're having an experience. For me, it can be a very strong bodily experience. Like
Mm.
I can feel intense nervousness where it feels like my gut is shaking and I feel unstable. That's one version of being triggered. Like all of a sudden, maybe from something that's been said or done, I feel unsafe. And so my body is in this fear response. But other circumstances and words can elicit different emotional responses of being triggered, like becoming really angry or becoming depressed or very sad.
Mhm.
And that, there's corresponding bodily feelings that go with those. So if you're feeling, all of a sudden you feel angry, you could get hot, you could become short of breath, or you could start breathing really rapidly. Um,
Hands shaking.
Hands shaking, changes in temperature, all sorts of responses that are happening inside your nervous system due to the information that you're hearing that's kind of bringing up those memories
Yeah.
or maybe conflicting with a belief that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I've been triggered in the past, I've gotten some really strong tightness in my chest or in my gut. A lot of people that I've worked with can get some real strong tightness in their neck and their shoulders.
Mm.
And sometimes that can be chronic,
Chronic, yes.
to where you may have like really bad back pain for a while.
Yeah.
Um, and it can be unexplained by doctors.
Mm. Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, so
That's real.
the emotional part of it is big. Like, as humans and as men, we're taught to suppress our emotions, not feel them,
Yeah.
that emotions are bad or weak.
Right.
And when we suppress them, they stay stuck in our body. And the energy kind of stays there and lingers.
Yeah.
And then when we're triggered, it brings that old stuff up to the surface.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I want to speak to that point that you just mentioned of like, as men, like having emotions is kind of unacceptable or we're told to repress them. And very true. That's been my experience as a man. And if you're a man listening, I think it's safe to say that almost all men have received that kind of learning. And I used a phrase in conversation with a friend or a colleague the other day. I can't remember, but I said, before I'm a man, I'm a human. And and when I say that, what I really want to point to is the fact that, there's all these roles that we play, right? And the traditional role can be, being a provider for the family, being a protector, being strong, right? Not being disturbed by difficult events and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not showing emotion,
Mm-hmm.
right? But before that role that we're taught, I'm a human being, right? I'm essentially an animal on planet Earth, like all the other animals, a very sophisticated one at that. But I'm an animal and my body has responses to the external environment and it, like fear or excitement, or depression. Um, so yeah, before I'm a man, I'm a human. So it's acknowledging that as a body and a mind, we have these reactions. Yeah.
Yeah. And, part of the work that Andrew and I do individually as well as together is helping men get more in tune with their emotions and allow those things to come to the surface. We have each experienced in our own individual lives the impact of that suppression and how that,
The harm of that.
what happens from that. And we've also experienced the freedom on the other side of allowing those emotions to come forward and how that has so positively impacted our relationships with other people as well as with our own, relationship with ourselves. And so, speaking to the gift of the trigger, I've come to believe in my life that everything is happening for us, everything around us, not just the good stuff, not just the positive, but the seemingly negative, the things that, are really hard to deal with. And on the other side of the emotional turmoil, the sadness, the grief, the anger, there's a growth opportunity there. And that's where the gift comes in. Like some of the biggest emotional breakthroughs I've had have come out of being triggered, where I've allowed the stuff to come to the surface, and it gives me an opportunity to heal that moment that happened when I was 8 years old and helps me bring more clarity and more peace to my current situation, my current being.
Yeah. I just heard you say that the gift is it can be turned into an opportunity for growth by kind of feeling, recognizing, and maybe responding differently. Or you said healing that thing in the past. And what does that really mean here? Like healing. I feel like if you're a man who's new to men's work, who's new to self-development and working on yourself, like that word healing is maybe unfamiliar, and you might have a response to that. It might be like, well, what am I healing? What do I need to heal? I think I'm okay. I'm going about my daily life. I go to work, I make money, maybe I'm in a relationship. What is this healing?
Yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think, I feel like everybody on the planet has an opportunity to heal because we all have stuff that happens in our childhood and our past. Even, I had a really great upbringing and a very positive experience, a very loving household, loving parents. They weren't perfect, but they did their best. I felt very loved growing up. But parents can't protect you from everything that happens. I broke my wrist when I was 4 or 5 years old. And in that experience, the kids laughed at me because I was crying. They didn't realize that I'd broken my wrist. I had just kind of fallen down. They were laughing at me for crying. That was a very traumatic experience, and it shaped some of my beliefs around, it's not safe for me to express emotion. It shaped how I view people around me, that I need to keep things to myself. And that's a prime example. Like we all have stuff that happens in our past.
Yeah.
And when I bring that into my adult life, that emotional suppression created a lot of really challenging dynamics in some of my relationships.
Yeah.
And I think when we start to recognize the role that we play in our relationships and how maybe some of our thoughts, behaviors, actions are negatively impacting how we relate to other people, that's when we start to see, oh, maybe there is an opportunity for me to heal what's going on inside me, get underneath it.
Yeah, that definitely happened to me. I started to come to healing because of a romantic relationship where I realized that there were things that I was not in control of. Like there were behaviors and thoughts and feelings that were coming up in response to my partner that I didn't actually want. I didn't want those things. So I wanted to seek out how to change them. Like I don't, maybe I'm behaving in a damaging way or simply in a way that doesn't lead to greater closeness and connection with my partner. And that's what led me to start to change and to heal, I like what you said about, even if you come from a loving household and loving parents, that doesn't mean that you make it through without some kind of pain or trauma, and that those then come out, those things come out and have an effect in our relationships. That's just so absolutely true. I feel the kind of the same way. Like I had a really good childhood, at least that's how I view it. And there was like, it became confusing for me when I did start kind of my healing and awakening journey, because I was like, I kind of had this picture in my mind, or I viewed my childhood, and I saw all the highlights. I saw all the love, I saw the beauty and the fun and all that stuff, but I wasn't really able to look at the things that were hurtful. And it took effort and time and help to really look at and acknowledge like, oh, that this hurt. I didn't
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
And those could be things that your parents did not intend to do or say. They did not intend to have a harmful or painful outcome for you, but it still happened.
Yeah.
It may have been accidental, but that doesn't decrease the hurt.
Right.
And I would go further to say that nobody on planet Earth goes from birth to adolescence or adulthood without being harmed in some way. That it's simply not possible that being a human on planet Earth and being born, it includes being hurt, and we can't escape from it.
Correct.
So it just highlights the necessity for healing, right? Like, because the hurts can keep us back, like we're talking
Yeah.
about here.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can prevent us from having what we really want.
Mhm.
Yeah. So let's circle back to that idea of the gift and this healing as the gift. Talk more about that.
Yeah. So it's like these things happen in the past and we don't realize how they're like lingering under the surface, and they're affecting us in ways that we don't even realize because we've been in our own minds and hearts 24/7,
Just living life
365. Yeah.
and responsibilities.
And we don't realize it until maybe we start to have regular disagreements with our partner and they start to get heated and you kind of find yourself in the same loop. The gift of the trigger is that it's allowing this stuff to come up to the surface
Yeah.
and be seen and felt.
Yes.
And when you're doing this work and when you're in a container where the healing can happen,
Mhm.
we actually can bring that energy up and out of our body and release it once and for all, to where it's not getting caught in that loop and
Yeah.
just being brought up, screaming at each other. And it just kind of goes
Yeah.
like, oh,
It subsides
I'm
and
so
becomes-
sorry for screaming at you.
Yeah.
Like I need
Yeah.
to shove it back down, basically.
Right.
Just like
Yeah.
break into the cycle again.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You can see it, because it's like they're living inside of you, all these things, all these programs and these hurts and these like ideas, these unconscious ideas of behavior or expectations, right? And the trigger, like a word or something someone does, triggers us. We get angry, we get sad, we get nervous, anxious, afraid, right? And that it's like it awakens that thing, and we can see it, and it's lighting up our body, and it's creating thoughts in our mind, right? So it just all of a sudden becomes very present when formerly it was dormant, like laying underneath
Yeah.
the surface inside of us. And now it's like, here it is, and you can see it. And that's the gift, is we can see it, and then we can work with it, understand it, and remove it from our system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many layers to this. Because like for me, conflict was very triggering and would be very challenging, especially in my former marriage. And I knew that it was triggering and brought up a lot of stuff for both of us. So for me, I developed a pattern where I would do whatever I could to avoid conflict.
Yeah.
And
a protection mechanism.
Yeah. Anytime there was like a little like warning light going off in my body, so maybe like a smaller trigger where I'd get like something in my chest, be like, okay, I need to divert. Like, what can I do to prevent this conflict from happening? And that is also, that avoidance of conflict is also a thing from childhood. So it like, there's all these like trigger points that can happen. And when we start to allow ourselves to have the conflict and to listen to each other, we'll, tie into that part of our topic today as well, and really seek to understand each other, including ourselves. Like sometimes, speaking what's going on for us can be illuminating for myself.
Yeah.
There can be a lot of healing that happens in just being heard and seen as well.
Yeah.
Even if we're disagreeing on something.
Yeah. Just hearing you talk about that, of you said to like not avoid conflict, to stay in it, and then the opportunity that contains of being able to speak out loud, and maybe that helps me understand or listen to my partner, and that is the beginning of changing something. That's just really, I feel like that's really hard in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think it was really hard for me. I can speak to that when I became tired of repeating the same things and getting stuck in the same cycle, or keep failing in relationship because of this stuff that was coming out of me, this pain or this protection mechanism or this learning, this unconscious thing that was coming out. When I became tired of it, it's basically like the beginning of, all right, there are now certain skills that I have to learn, right? As it's not easy to just all of a sudden like, all right, I'm going to stay in this conflict, or I'm going to stay in this uncomfortable place.
Yeah.
There's a requirement then that there's an intentionality that's required behind it. You have to want to do this, and then you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because it's not going to feel good. All that pain or the fear or the anger or whatever is generally not going to feel good. And to get the gift, to move beyond it, you have to like strengthen your nervous system in some way to stay in this uncomfortable place long enough to understand it and work through it, or just speak it out loud. Just speaking it out loud, that might be the first step of feeling uncomfortable and saying, I feel really nervous right now. Or I feel really angry with you right now. Or I feel really scared. Or I feel depressed. Like speaking that can be a very powerful first act. Staying in the feeling, and that rather than maybe drinking or smoking or running away or numbing out in some kind of coping strategy that we've developed, staying uncomfortable and saying what you're feeling are, I feel like, two of the very first critical steps in this whole process of being able to remove this trigger from our life and have more of what we want.
Yeah. A big part of it also is the teamwork element.
Yeah. Yep.
And the willingness from both people to stay in it, to listen to each other, to hear, for me in this example, to listen to Andrew express how he's feeling, even if it's toward me, especially if it's toward me.
Yeah.
And that can't always necessarily happen fruitfully with every single person in our lives. So when I think about my past marriage, when I began my healing journey and began to like learn how to love myself and to set boundaries, like those were not well received. There was not a willingness on the other person's part to kind of work together to, solve the problem or to listen to each other. And now I'm in a relationship that is the exact opposite, like a complete 180, where it's not just a like teamwork thing. It's like there's an excitement on both of our parts of like, oh, like let's get to what's really going on underneath for each other. Like I'm so excited to learn, like tell me more about what's coming up for you. Knowing that, I may played a role in causing harm or triggering. Like I want to know more about you, and I want you to feel seen and heard and safe. Like that's really important to me. And I'm really proud that in the relationship that I'm in 3 years, we've only had, I think I can count on one hand the number of conflicts that we've had, but the ones that we've had, I am so proud of us for how much we've listened to each other and given each other space to feel what's going on for ourselves and to express ourselves clearly and own how we're feeling. Um, Night and day difference. Yeah, from the past. And I've learned a lot along the way, which has been really, I'm very grateful for.
I love that you brought that up. You said the word teamwork or team.
Yeah.
And we're speaking to like, maybe not everyone is going to be able to work with you. And I think it's really important to point out that I believe you can't do this on your own. You need another person, and that person could be a romantic partner, it could be a friend, it could be a therapist, but I personally believe that there must be another party involved, because you've been triggered and maybe you can see it, but I don't think you can catalyze and transform and digest or take it apart on your own. I really believe that you need another person there to speak out loud and process and work through, because they're going to help you in seeing what's going on, because this is like a blind spot. You don't understand fully what's happening. So you need another person to reflect back to you and show you maybe a little bit of what's going on. And also, like, I think part of the healing is to feel accepted, to not feel shamed or then reacted to or responded against in a way that reinforces the program or the trigger. But you need someone who can basically hear your feeling, hear what's happening inside of you, and not like spin the wheel more, like to be objective and calm and understanding. Like a therapist is trained to do that. Like they go through like 8 to 10 years of school or something like that to basically build the skill set to listen and then help people uncover without spinning that wheel and re-triggering. And I think that can be problematic because as men, at least in my understanding of heterosexual men and myself as a heterosexual male, reaching out for help or working with another person in that way is not the naturally ingrained response. I feel like growing up in male culture, in modern male culture, again, it's repression and shaming or ridiculing, right? If you have a response, if you have a feeling, if you have a problem, it's like something's wrong with you and you are now unworthy or you are now less than, right? So there's an inherent stigma, I feel like, in asking for help.
Yeah, for sure.
I think so many men are responding unconsciously to this enforcement of like, if you reach out for help, you are less than. You are not good enough. Your man card is taken away.
Yeah.
Right. And that only seeks to reinforce the struggle that we carry.
Yeah.
Right.
Man up, deal with it.
Yeah. Deal with it
yourself.
Yeah. Suck it up, call the ambulance or whatever. So we have to have the courage, in my opinion, to not respond to that norm, not respond to that expectation that has been offered by other men and society. We have to have the courage to say, I need help. Because it's the go it alone. You have to be strong. You need to be the man who can provide and do everything, build the house and the farm and plow the field and grow the corn, like whatever, or wake up at 6 a.m. and go earn the money, right? Just do it. That's what you're expected to do. Right. And this is kind of going against that and saying, I can't do this on my own. I need help doing this. Right. And it requires courage to cross that line and say that I do need help. Please help me, because my life is not what I want it to be. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. There's a lot we could say about picking the right partner, or working with the right people, or asking, like, not everyone is safe or good helpers. Do you have anything to share about that? Or
Yeah.
your own experience?
Yeah. It's like, so I was in a really unhealthy relationship for 15 years. I began my healing journey. I ended that. And then I had a couple, I don't know, they weren't short relationships. They also weren't long. They were both under a year, where I learned and grew through those. And I've now been in a relationship with my now fiance for 3 years. And with each experience, because I've been doing the work on myself along the way, like from a conflict and communication standpoint and the teamwork standpoint, each one has kind of leveled up along the way. So with my kind of leveling up with each person, my energetic attraction to different partners allowed for each partner to become more safe, more understanding, just kind of naturally from the get-go. And I believe that allowed, because my fiance and I both did work on ourselves separately leading up to our relationship, that has now created a relationship where in 3 years we've only had 5 conflicts.
Yeah.
That being said, like, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, you don't have to end a relationship because there's a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to speak to your experience of like being in a relationship where there is a challenging period, but because there's that teamwork, and you're both in it, and you both want the relationship to succeed, and you're both rooting for each other, you can work through a really challenging time and come out on the other side.
You can work through anything.
Yeah.
That's my belief.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm at a place where I have done enough work and I'm committed to growing and healing myself that I have also brought a partner into my life who is willing to do the same and to be a good helper and team member and supportive person in my growth. In the past, I think I was really unconscious to my pain, to my programs and my triggers. And it took painful relationships with people that re-triggered me and did not seek to understand and help. It took me several of those kinds of relationships to learn, like, this doesn't feel good. I don't want my partner to be actively reinforcing the pain that I feel. And nor do I want to be actively reinforcing the pain that my partner is feeling, because I witnessed myself do that. That sucked.
Yeah.
That really sucked. When I fell in love with someone and witnessed myself behave in ways and say things that were harmful to her. I loved her. I didn't want to cause her pain. I wanted to create happiness, but somehow I was incapable of doing that. And that really sucked. And it was like, okay, what do I need to do differently? How can I change this? Right? Because I'm just destroying a relationship here that had tremendous potential and value. I have learned, and I think many people have learned through trial and error, and that's just kind of the process of waking up to all of this. And it's maybe not fun, but if you can educate yourself, you can start to avoid a lot of that pain and a lot of those experiences. I want to say that I think it's just experience to gain the discernment of like knowing that this person can actually listen, and this person is committed to understanding me, and they're actually committed to loving me through whatever this difficulty is. I feel like you have to learn through experience to gain that discernment. But you maybe don't have to. If you listen to and read information, you can learn, like, okay, this person, despite how much I love them and whatever bond I have through sexuality or shared experiences, I'm having this love experience with them, but they're actively not helping me. And they say they love me, and I can see that and feel that a lot of times, but there's other times where I feel like I'm actively being harmed by what they say and do. And so you grow and you gain that discernment of, like, okay, if you start asking for it and this person continues to not be helpful, you've got to make a decision. how much longer are you going to wallow in this?
Yeah.
Because you're sacrificing time in your growth by hoping another person's going to change and get on board with you. Right. The roles might be reversed. You might have a partner who's asking for your understanding, who's asking for you to stop unconsciously hurting them, but you may be unable to hear them and know what they're asking for. And that might cause the relationship to end. And if you can't see and learn the lessons of why that ended, you're going to repeat it. And it might just take many repetitions to then have the discernment of like, how can I do differently? Or how can I ask my partner to do differently?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about listening.
Yeah. Let's talk about listening.
One thing that was coming up for me as you were just talking, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm a gay man, I'm not a straight man, but my perception, my observation of a lot of straight relationships is it's often the woman that is the one coming to the man asking for, support or to be heard and understood.
Yes.
And
I would agree with that.
what I've also seen is that it's not necessarily an unwillingness on the man's part. It's more not knowing how to listen and understand.
Right.
And where this ties into listening is, as men, and not just as straight men, but as gay men as well, like, part of our programming is if there's a problem, we want to fix it.
Yep.
We want to solve the problem. How do we attack this? How do we make it not a problem anymore?
Right. Neutralize.
And with that comes like a discomfort with emotions, because it's like we don't want to sit with discomfort.
Yeah.
We want to solve the problem. We want to jump into action so that we don't feel uncomfortable anymore.
Yes.
And so again, it's not an unwillingness, but I think a lot of men, and really a lot of people, don't necessarily know how to listen.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to hear your perspective on how you, and maybe you've always been a good listener, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what's been your evolution in that area?
Yeah. Thanks. I would agree with what you say, that being unable to sit in its comfort and just want to fix the problem, when in truth, listening is required. How did I come to listening? Yeah, like I was just saying, like a lot of painful repetition of a reiteration of situations that I interpreted as failure. I was like, I'm not good enough. Something's fucked up with me. But it was through all these things, it was like, all right, if I just keep defending myself, if I just keep trying to solve their problem, the same things keep happening. So what to do differently? And it was also part of my former career as a massage therapist. I became a massage therapist when I was 20 years old. And the development of that made me become a coach, because people were coming to me with pain, and they would get on my massage table and I would help them feel less pain. Right. And it was really, really easy to see that, yes, there's pain in the body that maybe is simply a mechanical thing, but it's really easy to see that there's a lot of pain in the body that is coming from psychological situations, or simply life circumstances that they don't know how to navigate. Right. There's like stress inside of their system that's causing headaches, or compulsion to behave in a certain way. That could be running. That could be overwork, sitting in a chair for 12 hours, 10 hours a day, banging away on the computer to make money or whatever. So I could tell that there was like a psychological component to this pain. And as a massage therapist, it was beyond my scope to address those things. So, and I was like, I want to help people feel better. Because ultimately, I started doing that because I wanted to feel better. Yeah. I wanted to feel better, and I didn't know how to do that. So I'm like, well, I'm going to fix you. I'm going to make you feel better. Right. And then maybe I'll feel better. Yeah. So, but it was like, all right, just doing some of this doesn't fix the problem. And I liked talking to people. Like, I wanted them to feel comfortable with me touching their body. Right? They needed to feel comfortable with that. They need to trust me. And to do that, I need to share some of who I am, right? And be vulnerable about what's real for me and what my life is and whatnot. And then to listen to them, right? To build that trust. I need to listen to them and offer acceptance rather than judgment, right? Then they'll trust me, and then they'll keep coming and pay me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's an importance of listening to understand
Yeah.
versus listening to respond.
Yeah.
And I will own the fact that while you were talking, I was thinking about like a couple points that I could make.
Yeah.
And so I was guilty of listening to respond. I'm like, oh, there's certain things that I could be, I could, add to this conversation. But when I'm doing that, I'm not being fully present with the person. I'm not listening to understand or listening to be present with the person that I'm with. Doesn't make it wrong.
No.
But it has definitely, it's been a thing in me in my growth journey to just be more and more present with the person that I'm with and to really revel in getting to know the person in front of me versus feeling like I need to contribute in order to add value, right, to the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is a skill that requires building, because like you just experienced, I experienced it a couple times in our conversation thus far of something popping up in my mind. And there's a real skill to balance and juggle, like listening intently, being present to show them that I'm here and I'm understanding and accepting and approving of you.
Yeah.
Listen to it. And then, of course, I'm going to have things to say in response, right? So how do I keep that presence and not be afraid that I'm going to lose my idea?
Yeah.
And
right.
also to calm myself, to feel like, hey, it's all right. Keep listening to them. You will have a chance to speak, and your input is valuable and important, and it's not going to go away. Like you can trust that what they've said is going to be said, and it will end at some point, and then you will remember what you wanted to say. It's a skill.
Yeah.
And it can take time. It can take some time. And because our minds can be very busy, there can be a lot of thoughts and chatter. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I love this picture, this analogy. It's like, think of dirt and water in a jar, and it's shaken up, and it's now this muddy cloud, right? What do you do to separate them again? You don't shake the jar more.
Yeah.
Right? It's to be quiet and let it settle, right? And then the things just go into their places. And that's kind of what I feel like you got to do inside. It's like, be calm, let everything settle, and then you can take your part, whether it's the water or the dirt, and share it, right? Otherwise, it's just, and there's more thoughts circulating, and it's all muddy and murky and cloudy, and it's hard to be organized inside yourself to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to conflict and being triggered, one way to, contribute to the conversation while also listening is to reflect back what you've heard.
Yeah.
That's something that Andrew is really, really good at. He's done it a lot in our friendly conversations and our collaborations. And it's such a gift for me to receive because it helps me feel seen and heard and understood.
Yeah.
So that can be a really great tool in the midst of a heated conflict to reflect back what you're hearing.
Yeah.
Sometimes just that in and of itself can kind of diffuse tension.
Yep.
For the other person to know that you're hearing them.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yes. I would say it's an essential tool, and it is something that I teach with my clients. And there's more steps to that, but it's essential because human communication is inherently flawed. Things can be easily and instantly misinterpreted. So when someone speaks reflecting it back to make sure you heard what they meant eliminates the potential for error and something being misconstrued, which could then cause harm, right?
Yeah.
Or harm to you or harm to them, right? Ted says something and I take it a certain way and I'm pissed. And now I hate Ted, right? But Ted didn't mean that at all. He meant something else.
Yeah.
But I didn't hear that. And if you get into this mode of reflecting, you actually get to understand more.
Yeah.
So if I reflect what Ted said back, and I was like, is that what you meant? Or can you say more so I can understand what you meant? Then we take away some of the potential for conflict. Then I don't end up hating Ted. I end up understanding and even potentially loving Ted.
Yeah. And it's not always that extreme either. Like a misinterpretation can be such a minor thing.
Yeah.
But when those build up, it can
Yes.
lead to a bigger thing.
Can lead to a bigger.
Or there's just the inconvenience of miscommunication and, you know, just stuff happens, and you can avoid that if you listen and reflect what you're hearing.
Yeah.
And confirm that understanding.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we all bring different experiences. Like Andrew and I have been friends and collaborators for several months now, but we had a whole history that of our individual lives that led into that moment of becoming connected. And so I have my perceptions of straight men as an example.
Yeah.
That maybe I've had some assumptions about how Andrew might think or feel based on the other straight men that I've had in my life. And those have not always been accurate.
Yeah. 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 There's just a tremendous amount of value, and it's so vitally important. I think there's a lot more that we could say about the importance of listening and listening as the answer. And I think we're kind of running out of time today. So, yeah, let's continue this conversation in the future. And I want to say thank you guys for joining us, and thank you for listening. And if any of this felt educational or important or valuable to you and you want to learn more, keep looking out for more content from us and reach out. We would love to hear from you and work with you in listening and understanding and finding the gift within your triggers so that you can build the life that you truly deserve and want to be living.
Bye for now. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.